Everything is awesome. Hey everybody, Jeff Stone here with another episode of MagicReviewed.com. That's as close as you're ever going to get to having me actually sing anything. The end. What are we looking at today? This guy right here, $35, The Professional Mentalist Field Manual by Richard Osterlind. Here is a deck of cards. You can see it's almost as wide as, or a little wider than a deck of cards, and it's about 2.5 decks this way, right? That gives you a rough idea, and that's how thick it is. Not quite as thick as a deck of cards, almost. There you go. So this is one of those things where there's not really an effect or a method. I'll give it to you this way. You ever watch Burn Notice? An old TV show on the USA Network about a spy or former spy. He'd been burned, right? That's when they disavow you and you're out in the field and you're stuck out there. The character's name was Michael Westen, and at the beginning of every episode, he would narrate it, and he would give like a spy tip or whatever, and it would be sort of the theme of that episode. And they were always like really cool and clever things or thoughts or ideas. Some were philosophical, some were more practical. Some were like, oh, if you're ever in this situation and all you have is a stick of gum and a bullet, here's how you get out of it, sort of MacGyver your way out of it. But they were always just fun and clever. I always thought it'd be cool if USA Network made a manual that had all those spy tips in it and sold it as an official Burn Notice or whatever product, right? I was so interested in the idea that I actually went through and binged everything and started writing down the spy tips at the beginning of every episode. And then I'm like, I'm not going to do this. This was years ago. I decided not to pursue it any further, but I thought it'd be a cool idea. Anyway, that feel and that vibe is exactly what this book reminds me of. This looks like an actual field manual you would have if you were like an operative or something that you would carry inside your coat pocket or whatever. It almost fits in my shirt pocket here, but not quite. Just a half an inch too wide to fit in my shirt pocket. That'll give you an idea of how big it is. But it just feels like that on the back. It's got the top secret thing, and it really feels like what it claims to be. Well, what do we get? We get a whole bunch of different topics here. Let me get to the table of contents. You get 13 chapters there, it looks like. And a few more on the next page there. Okay? And it covers everything. It's things like how to dress, how to talk to your participants when they're on stage, how to be prepared for emergencies, let me just read some of the chapter titles here. Working surrounded, acting professionally towards fellow entertainers, the real secret of overcoming stage fright, packing up your show, understanding what effect means, imply but do not state your powers, composing your show, the Osterlind show where he actually walks through his entire show, or one of them anyway, making it look real. It's all about perspectives, a whole bunch of things, theatrical distance, on and on and on.
But for now, for your customer's sake, for your daughter's sake, you might want to think about buying a quality product from me.
All in all, the whole thing is well written. There's a few typos here and there, which is pretty typical of his stuff. But generally speaking, it's just great. I wouldn't worry about the typos or anything. And it's very, very nostalgic for some reason because, usually nostalgic is making you feel, something that you miss or that you kind of long for from the good old days. And this is not a thing that I missed or longed for the good old days, but it just has that feeling. Watch the ad trailer. And he actually made like a voiceover. Jim Sisty's doing the voiceover of an ad trailer talking about what the book is. That's exactly what it is. It's just what they talk about in that thing. It's really cool. There's not much more to say about this. If you're a working mentalist or want to become a working mentalist, this is a great book to have. And it talks about, there's no tricks in here at all, no effects. It's all short little 1 or 2. So that's the starting of the page. And it ends on the next right there. It's just 2.5 pages. And then there's usually a little notes thing right here where it gives you a little call to action and something to write down here to go along so you can think through everything. So really smart, simple little thing. You can keep notes in it, sort of like a journal. And it really is a field manual for people out in the field doing this for a living. So when I read it, I had a couple different feelings or things or thoughts as I'm reading it. One, I would think, oh yeah, I've felt that way before, Richard. I'm with you. I totally 100% agree with you. That's one of them. The second one is, oh, I never thought about that, but I totally agree with you on that as well. Then the third way I kind of felt was, I thought that he was totally wrong about the subject or his take on it or whatever. And by the time I got done reading it, I felt even more like he was wrong, right? And then the fourth thing was, I thought he was totally wrong. I felt he was totally wrong. But the more I read it, the more I started thinking, oh, you know, he might have a point there. So I think that's the perfect mix. Because if everything in here I read, I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that, or I agree with that, or I've already felt that. Well, what's the point? If everything in there I hate and I disagree with, well, that's kind of, what's the point of that? If there's things that I never thought of but I agree with, okay, I agree with you. You know, maybe that's useful. But if there's a mixed bag, we're like, oh, I'm glad to see somebody else thinks the way I did, or I never thought of that, but I can see his point, or I don't understand where you're coming from. That's crazy, but at least it's making me think. And sometimes when I would think, I would say, oh, he's right, or I like that perspective. I think that's the right way for this kind of a book to work. So, if you're a working mentalist, or you want to become a working mentalist, and you got, $35, do it. Final verdict, 5 stars, stone status a gem with a capital G, capital E, capital M, exclamation point. Short, sweet, to the point, always the case when the products are good. Unless I just get all giddy and start rambling on and on and on. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to be done because this is the last video I'm filming today. So, that means it's time for you to listen to the random iTunes song of the moment. And while you were doing that, you're going to click that little button down there that lets you buy me a diet soda by clicking the thanks button. Or just sharing or commenting or whatever you got to do. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And the moment you've been waiting for is Joey by Concrete Blonde. Oh, this is a perfect song for right now. This is a song from the 80s. Probably if you're not my age or older, you don't even know this song. I don't really know much else from them besides this song, but it was a huge hit when I was a teenager. And this one of those songs, like I still listen to everything I listened to when I was in high school. And there's really not a lot of nostalgia left for it. It's just I'm rocking out to this stuff all the time and I love it. But this song, for some reason, no matter how many times I listen to it, it takes me right back to the 80s. And I can feel the 80s air. I can smell the 80s whatever. I can taste it. I can feel everything. And I'm like 16 or 17 years old again. For whatever reason, I don't know why this song has that strong of a connection. Because the song itself isn't anything that's really that relatable to me specifically. I mean, it's sort of a breakup fighting kind of a song. But it's just, for whatever reason, it's super nostalgic. So having a nostalgic song come up when we're talking about this sort of nostalgic manual here sort of seems to fit the bill. I'm done. I'll shut up now. I got to go turn off everything, go edit everything now. So thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one. Peace out.